What is up, people of the internet? Today is Friday, July 27th, 2018, and I was trying to think about what my thoughts were today and what I wanted to share with you guys. Oh man, today was one of those days that was just extremely difficult to get through. At my job, I'm a plumber, and we had to do a dig job, which means that instead of being inside and being in people's houses, I'm digging outside, and it's a lot more effort. It's physically extremely exhausting. And while I was in the pit today, the trench that we dug was like 8.5 feet deep. There was a rock in the way, so I picked up this rock and I threw it over my shoulder, thinking like, no problem, it'll go away. This rock was like a little bit smaller than a football, okay, so it's kind of big. And like 3 seconds later, the rock comes back and hits me in the face, and that's what that is right there. And it doesn't look like much, but it hurts so fucking bad. It was so painful. I apologize for swearing, but it just, sometimes it comes out. But it hurt, and it was like one of those, like, the world was saying to me, oh, your day sucks? Well, now it's gonna suck even more, you know? And I definitely had a little pity party for myself as I patted the blood on my forehead, but I got over it. What do I want to talk about, man? So lately, I guess in my personal life, I did a video before. I think it was called Caffeine Withdrawal and NoFap, where I talk about porn. I talk about porn withdrawal and how real it is and what it does to your body and what it does to your mind. And right now I'm kind of in another stage of withdrawal because I gave it up again. And I'm basically trying to go on my longest streak possible, just avoiding it as an addiction, because that's what it is, an addiction. So this week was really hard because my mind and my body, my mood was just in the toilet because I'm not watching porn. And porn is usually like a huge pick-me-up and dopamine reward. It's a reward for not doing anything. You basically get to see nudity without having to engage in a relationship or work for a relationship or marry someone. Like, you get access to unrealistic amounts of stimulating images that are just, it's just not how life works. It's a fantasy world. But so I had that, I was going through that. I also gave up caffeine again. I've been cutting back on sugar because I know sugar really makes me irritable, makes my mood terrible. But I think something that hit me lately, just like a life lesson that's kind of really been weighing on me and my heart, my mind, is like growing up as a Christian. You know, I was raised to date certain types of girls and approach dating a certain way and relationships, and for a while I believed in it, and then I kind of lost faith in it and just kind of did like a free-for-all, I'll date whoever. And now I'm kind of coming back to simple principles of dating and like compatibility. But what I wanted to talk about was some of the women that I've met lately, and kind of how hard it's been to kind of deal with the emotions that I experience when I'm talking to these girls and getting to know them, and just how tragic some of their lives are. Like, women, it breaks my heart when I meet these girls that the only value they feel is in how they look. And right away you can tell a girl if she has low self-esteem. Typically she'll offer you pictures, or she'll talk about sexually what she can do for you, what she can offer for you, because that's what she believes is valuable. And it's like, yes, there is a certain value to that if you want to quantify it, if you want to look at someone's capabilities, if you will. Like, sexual compatibility is a big deal, but sexual compatibility is far less important than moral compatibility and spiritual compatibility and personality compatibility. I believe that our culture emphasizes sex as the most important factor in happy marriages, but yet everybody's hooking up and having so-called great sex. We have all these sex toys, we have all this stuff to make sex great, and yet 60% of marriages fail. So I don't think it's bad sex, although I'm sure that's a problem for some couples because of issues, but mostly because of probably porn addiction, masturbation addiction, and just selfishness on a man or woman's part to not please their partner. But interesting side note though, it's biblical to please your partner sexually and make sure that they basically are satisfied. The Bible says that, and they, or else you'll be tempted to cheat on someone else. Like, we're meant to have a sexual partner and have sex with only that person. And when you stray from that, or when you deny your partner that, that's when Satan comes in and tempts you guys. Like, it's not healthy. So fix your marriages. But the point I'm trying to make is, these girls that I'm meeting are like sweethearts, great people, in my opinion. Like, I see the beauty in them. I see the kindness and I feel like I see them how God sees them. But hearing their stories, it's like, emotionally, it's like a nightmare. It's like the pain they're going through, the pain that they've caused that they don't even realize they've caused to themselves and others, the pain that they do realize, and the shame they carry with them. And it's just like, I cried the other night talking to this one girl. I was just crying for her because it's just the culture, it's so wrong. It should never be that people become so calloused. They become so calloused in their hearts to relationships and sex that they just don't even care, and they just use people. The same way I use porn, but using people, and it's just so sad because they become victims of someone else's hurt and pain, and it's just this cycle until hopefully it's broken. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes they get married and they're abused and they're still not loved. They think they're gonna find love and they still don't find it. But I see now the value in waiting for marriage and not having sex before marriage, just on the sheer principle or idea that you're not becoming sexually intimate with anyone that hasn't decided to commit to you. Like, it's a pretty big test of someone's character when they can date you or hang out with you and they don't need to touch you and get off. And then you find out that, oh, they actually really did like me that whole time. And it's a good test, I think. And the whole like sexual compatibility thing, people always throw out, well, you're not going to drive a car, and you're not going to test drive a car or buy a car without test driving it. Which I just think that's a huge fucking excuse to not do what God says. Like, because what God says is very hard and nobody wants to do it because it sucks so much. But people have been having arranged marriages since the dawn of time, and from what I'm told, arranged marriages have a really high percentage of happiness and fulfillment, because it's all about what you bring to the table and what you can give, and it's not about what you receive and what you can take from somebody. I'm sure there's infidelity in arranged marriages and there's bad situations, but on the most part, I think maybe they're onto something about marrying for the right reasons. Because if we're just marrying on the basics of love, then our culture is kind of proving that doesn't really work too well, does it? Just love alone. But I think if you marry based on love and principles and truth and compatibility and mindset and vision and all that stuff, but I was talking to this girl and we had this conversation where we both agreed that we don't think marriage works without God being in it. Like, it cannot successfully thrive without God being part of your marriage. because, you know, marriage, I could be wrong about this, but it seems like it was like a Judeo-Christian idea that you'd only marry one person. I could be wrong about that, because it kind of seems like in the Old Testament they had many wives and concubines and stuff, which is kind of one of those gray zones, but it seems like the original idea was one man and one woman in a partnership together, committed for life. But I'm like facing a turn right now. Don't worry, I'm being very safe, but because I'm sure everyone's question is like, well, how do you make a marriage successful? We're all wondering that, and if you're not married, you're probably like, well, I really don't want a bad marriage. I don't want a bad marriage personally. No one does, but man, when I get married, I want the first one to be the one for the rest of my life. I don't want to have to go through the hardship that I've seen people go through. I almost got married once, and I think it would have turned into a nightmare. So in closing, if you have lots of, you know, baggage emotionally, spiritually, you're still valuable. You're still more valuable than you could ever know. And, you know, if you're a woman, there's nothing wrong with you. Yes, you've made choices, and there's certain people that are going to reject you for that, but a good man is going to love you and get to know you despite what you've done, despite all the bad things you've done in your life. And the same thing goes for a good woman, for a man that's made mistakes. But the important thing is that your heart would change, and that you'd be willing to work with the person and change your lifestyle to make it work. But please, like, if you're in the hookup culture, please just consider stopping. Consider doing yourself a favor and looking for quality matches and working on healing your heart and your mind and your spirit, instead of trying to numb yourself with random sexual encounters. Because it's not where it's at. It's not where life is found. Life is not found in seeing how much pleasure your body can experience in one sitting. You know, that's how drug addiction's formed. But I hope that you guys have a really great month, I would say. Not just a week or a day, but I hope that this is some value to whoever's watching it. That you are worth waiting for. You don't have to be waited for, but there's good people out there that will love you for who you are. And you have to be patient, and you have to be willing to be single if that's what it takes, and not just jump from one relationship to another. But if you do that, that's okay too. But please just date people that actually like you and test them. Make sure they actually really care about you as a person before you give your body to them, in my opinion. Just wait. Just wait to give your body. Like, wait till they've proven that they're trustworthy, you know. But these are my thoughts for today. Thank you for listening.